Hi, this is James Rowan with Push the Lane. I want to give a quick shout out to Buddy Hutton, the man with the golden tongue. He's behind the camera. Fortunately, we're the only one who gets to behold his beauty.
Yeah, and thanks for not making fun of my hair. I really appreciate it. Nice abs. First, we're going to start right off. PAX, we were there. It was a great time. TSM took first place, beating DIGNITAS 2-0. Of course, DIGNITAS second, and CLG.EU, my personal favorite, taking third. I'm a little sad they didn't win the whole thing, and how sad are you?
Oh, I'm very sad. I think people need to remember that these teams, there's been a lot of tournaments recently, and they're just constantly pressured. They have very tight schedules. So despite the practice issues, I think that's going to be eased a little bit coming to the Season 2 championship. CLG in particular, there was the tsunami warnings in Japan. They had to come a week early. They weren't able to get the practice in that they wanted to, and I expect to see a lot of really interesting strategies from them. I think that their teams, as built, they don't have a lot of big weaknesses player-wise. They just need to work on those strategies, and they're going to be perfectly ready for those Season 2 finals and championships against some of those EU teams.
Yeah, I'm actually really sad they didn't make it. I wanted CLG.EU to win the whole thing with some really interesting strategies, and they definitely brought those strategies, but it wasn't enough to beat TSM. TSM looking exceptionally strong. They've had the same lineup for a really long time now, since IPL 4 with Dyrus joining the team. They practice a lot, and they just play really, really solidly. And CLG.EU came in with this unique strategy of having teleport, having promote, and really pushing and splitting the lanes, but it wasn't enough. TSM was just too strong. And then we saw DIGNITAS come in with that poke strategy, and that wasn't even enough to take down TSM. So TSM looking the strongest in an A by far, and clearly some of the favorites.
I just want to see TSM use one of those unusual strategies. Just coming in real quick. They always kind of play a standard thing. They threw out some interesting comps, but actual gameplay wise, see them do some aggressive things coming in Season 2.
And I think that's probably a big part of their success is they just stick to one game plan and just play solid, take objectives, and move right along.
All right, next up, OGN LoL Summer Finals. I only saw the first two games. CLG.EU, it seemed like they were winning from my old predictions. I'm assuming that was correct in what happened. Actually, AZUBU, they looked really strong, and they were able to take it from them. They were actually playing a number of the champions that CLG.EU had been known to play. There's Anivias and Karthus to win in the late game. What were your thoughts?
Well, yeah, actually, I watched the match up until CLG.EU went up 2-0. Then I went to sleep thinking the thing was over. CLG.EU is just too strong. Europe can just demolish Korea whenever they want. But it turns out AZUBU Frost knows how to come back. They end up winning the whole thing 3-2. CLG.EU really didn't want it to get to that fifth game because, of course, they used blind pick on those best of 3 and the best of 5 matches at the end. And AZUBU Frost was able to get their entire comp that they wanted and play those unique, interesting strategies that Korea is known to play. So they run team comps that are really strategic and are really strong, and that was enough to beat CLG.EU. And of course, CLG.EU was just at the G1 tournament in Taiwan, and so they're probably a little bit tired, not to make excuses, but AZUBU Frost was just a better team that day.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun this whole summer watching some of the strategies that they brought to the table. Seeing Diana, Lux, all these interesting things from all these teams. So that's kind of what we want to see going forward and what we can expect to see from some of these top teams.
Definitely. Moving right along, TSM.evo, they broke up, a couple weeks ago now, right after PAX. A lot of people were taken by surprise, but also some people weren't surprised because of how the team has been playing in the past couple months. What are your thoughts on it?
At some point in time, you have to make a decision whether or not a team's going to work. And I understand that they kind of made that decision. That was their thought. Unstoppable wasn't working for them in the jungle. Wings of Death was having some relationship issues with the rest of the team. However, that being said, I'm not sure where the players are going to go from now. Salse, he looks like he's going to be in a good situation. But the rest of them, they were right on the cusp of the big reward for all of their work. They were potentially going to be one of those top 8 teams. They had qualified for IPL 5, and I don't know, so it's kind of weird for them to break up at this point in time.
Yeah, but if you listen to a lot of the players on the team, the morale is extremely low. The synergy between Unstoppable and Wings of Death in the top lane, it just didn't work. Those lanes were constantly losing. Wings of Death, of course, brings a lot to the table, but continued to lose to some of those stronger, solid top lane sustained champions like Vladimir. And it's really telling that TSM.evo, they qualified for IPL 5 and they still decide to break up. So they're already gonna go, but they think it's not worth it. They're gonna cut their losses, they're gonna move on and do something else. So obviously there's something going on there. They hadn't been winning anything in a long time, and I'm not at all surprised that they broke up.
Okay, so next up, as a result of that, we see Curse. Salse has been, making his way with the Curse team, and he has looked very strong so far with them. He looks like a natural fit in the top lane. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, he's doing really well. Curse has played in the TSM Invitational this past weekend with Salsi in the top lane. Westerice played support, I believe, on the first day with Elements coming in on the second day, and they made it all the way to the finals. There was some drama, of course, that went down that the finals didn't happen, but they were looking extremely strong. Salsi brings different champions to the top lane. He knows matchups. He's played mid for a really long time, which is a matchup-driven lane, and so he brings that skill and that ability to the top lane with champions like Rumble, who he's been doing exceptionally well with.
Yeah, and I like that it gives them a lane that they can actually win, because that's been one of the issues with Curse. They've been very strong in team fights, very strong with strategy around the map. However, they don't tend to win their lanes. They kind of play passively, they sit back and farm. Westerice in particular, I don't know if I've ever seen him beat someone in the top lane, and that's not acceptable when you're going to be playing champions like Darius that need to snowball. And he has been very strong, he has improved a lot, but if Salse can bring them a winning lane, that's going to be huge for them.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so for our last topic of the show, we decided to reach out to our Twitter followers and ask, what do you guys want us to talk about? And a big topic of discussion was the Dota 2 ban system and how that would look in League of Legends. So of course, the Dota 2 ban system is you ban 2 or 3 in the beginning, then you pick a couple champions, and then you ban some more. So it's a different process and adds a different strategy into the picks and bans process. So what did you think?
I think that it's a really exciting system, but it's deceptively entertaining. You look at the Dota 2 ban system, you look at just any sort of ban system where you have more bans and those mid champ select bans, and you're like, wow, this is so cool. There's so much strategy involved, and that's absolutely true. However, you're banning out a lot of strategies. The whole point of the mid pick bans is to counter out people's team comps. And right now, there's not a lot of interchangeable champions in certain team comps. A lot of comps are based on one particular champion that does well. And when you consider that you're going to completely shut down like triple support comps, you're going to completely shut down poke comps or those kind of things. I want to see those comps. I want to see, like Zilius said, Frog and play Anivia. Hotshot, Nidalee was banned against him all the time, but when it wasn't, it was the most exciting thing ever. I want to see these players be able to play their best champions, and that's really the only downside to having more bans is, we won't be able to see these really interesting strategies that I think we all want to.
Unfortunately, I have to agree with you on this one. Sad day for me, but I don't really want to see any more bans. 3 bans is enough. There's always going to be strong champions, and if you broaden out the bans to 5 instead of 3, just more strong champions are going to get banned. Instead of having just Shen and Morgana and these bans, you're going to see Rumble being banned every game. You're going to start seeing 80 carries banned. It's just going to give more opportunity to shut down some of those more obnoxious champions that we see. The poke on Ezreal is really strong. We don't want to deal with it. We're just going to ban it out. The Blitzcrank grab, it's really strong. We're just going to ban it out. So we're going to see less strategy. We're going to see less champions being played, and nobody wants that.
Yeah, so that's basically it. One last thing, Southeast Asia regionals, or actually championships, the Saigon Jokers actually beating Singapore Sentinels. Really impressive win there. It looked like Singapore Sentinels, maybe kind of threw it a little bit, but definitely going to be exciting to see them coming into the Season 2 championship. Once again, thanks guys for watching. Make sure to message us on Twitter if there's anything you'd like us to talk about or any interesting topics in the LoL community. I'm at Baroncast.
And I'm at Nick Allen IGN. Follow us, let us know what you want, and we'll see you next week.